Good morning. Energy or afternoon, morning, afternoon. I need some energy, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. So today is, 4th of July. I learned that has significance here in Rwanda, but as a person born in America, it's Independence Day for me. So I started thinking, as a kid, what was July 4th? It was hot dogs, it was, watching fireworks on red, white, and blue blankets. But as I got older, I realized it wasn't independence for people that looked like me. People like my parents that were Africans, coming into America. That's not what July 4th was for us as well. But as I also learned, history is written by the victors. And so what I want to do is paint for you what the stories about Africa will be in 50, 100, 200 years if we don't change what we're investing in. At some point between Mansa Musa being the wealthiest human to ever live, or the Egyptians building pyramids that researchers still cannot figure out till today, Africa stopped being the leader of an innovation. While we continue to fall into extreme poverty, China is growing 2 billionaires per week. While the Nigerian government announced a factory for pencils in 2018, Skyrise is launching autonomous helicopters. Now, for the past 3.5 years, I've been both an investor and operator in African tech, and I'm telling you the trend is not in our favor. Private funding for the continent goes to African companies solving our basic African needs versus trying to solve large global innovative problems. Now, nothing's wrong with solving for water or solving with fintech or renewable energy, but the rest of the world is entering and creating these amazing solutions and then just coming into Africa with massive amounts of cash and innovation and dominating our space. I love the work that Zipline is doing to save lives in countries like Rwanda by delivering, blood to remote villages using drones, but everything about their product is built, innovated, designed, everything in California. They've been able to attract over $225 million in funding, valued at $1.2 billion. And all of its profits are going outside of Africa, in exchange for us to get a few jobs here. Now you compare that to LifeBank, which was founded by a Nigerian woman and has been delivering the same life-saving blood using tech and innovation, but she struggles to get the same limelight and literally a fraction of that funding. I've come to accept that we cannot private sector our way to development, and we need the public sector to make decisive and drastic changes that span administrations, and there's precedence for it. In 2017, I was a delegate at a Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Hyderabad, India, and I was amazed to see how in less than 4 years, government policies to promote innovation and massive investments in infrastructure had more than doubled the number of tech companies. The city is essentially one big government-driven tech incubator. But innovation doesn't just come from technology, it's in business practices, policies, and good governance. Let's look at Singapore, who in less than 40 years went from developing to first world status as a global financial hub. The government instituted sound financial and economic policy, coupled with a corruption-free environment and room for tech advancement, which drew the world's top innovators to Singapore. Notice a link in both examples. Public sector-driven development, radically changing the lives of its citizens and drawing innovation to within its borders. Instead, Africa is exporting its brilliant minds to innovate elsewhere because there's not an enabling environment. For example, 26-year-old Nigerian Silas Adekunle, who's a robotics prodigy who was snapped up by Apple and given free rein to build anything within their ecosystem. Or even the South African Elon Musk, who's created some of the most innovative companies on Earth and now wants to move humans to Mars. How do we help them innovate within our borders? It can't be from only solving and investing in basic African problems, and it can't be driven by the private sector only. Public sector needs to make it truly easier to do business, and it's not just a phrase or putting a form online. It is centers for training and education. It is policies that strengthen local economies, and we can't simply rely on the private sector because there's just simply bias and pattern matching. Investors put money behind people that look like them, and that's why African companies, the whole entire continent, has received less than 0.1% of VC funding. So we also have to invest capital into our local innovators solving groundbreaking technology that would otherwise be ignored if they don't have ties to the US or Asia, and we need to give them options besides leaving our borders to really try to change history. So I'm asking you, what would you like history to say about the steps we took after this moment in time? Did we simply go back home and toss the conference booklet in a stack of all the other conference booklets from the past? Or did we take action to actually try to shape Africa? We have the youngest population and therefore the most to lose if we don't change. We should be building innovation villages. We should be encouraging our pension funds to invest in VC and private equity firms locally. We should have more conferences featuring our innovation. Our news and journalists should really be highlighting the progress in innovation versus solely amplifying our poverty. Will history now come and say that Africa was colonized again because of our vast resources and our young population, or will they show how we return to our greatness like the Egyptians and Malians before us? Thank you.